Phylloxera is a major issue for wine grape industry. It is an insect which lives on the roots of grapevines, and it will kill a grapevine. That is a major problem for viticulturists in Australia. If a grower is to get phylloxera in his vineyard, it means a replanting program, and it can be very quick in its movement across the vineyard, but in general it is slow. But it means that you have to replant the vineyard. You have to replant it on rootstocks, phylloxera-resistant rootstocks, and the costs are quite dramatic compared to on own roots. So if it's an own-rooted vine, you could arguably say that it will cost you around $1 per vine as a rooted cutting that you can buy. But if it is on a rootstock, it's going to be $5 per vine. So the impact is immense. So if you're looking at just an area, say like the Yarra Valley, where planting densities are a bit higher than others, it can be, say, 2,660 odd vines per hectare, and it can be in excess of $13,000 per hectare of vines or vines that you require.
By employing best practice on-farm biosecurity measures, you can stop the spread of phylloxera onto your property. These same measures can also minimise the impacts of phylloxera on properties already affected by the pest. The biggest risks for transferring phylloxera between vineyards involve the use of vineyard equipment and machinery, grape harvesting items, grapevine planting material. Visitors to the property and contractors can also be a leading cause of the spread of phylloxera. The more that people, machinery and vehicles enter your property, the greater the risk one of them will bring phylloxera with them and accidentally contaminate or infest your vineyard. Your aim should be to limit access to your vineyard as much as possible, particularly to people, vehicles and equipment that have recently been at other vineyards. Have one entry point to your vineyard and forbid unauthorized entry or entry where your property is not supervised. If you have gates, keep them closed and locked. Ensure all visiting vehicles, including trucks, cars, tractors and contract machinery and equipment arriving at your winery, are clean and have adhered to all legal or specified requirements. Use a vineyard vehicle wherever possible. And check documentation. Use signs to advise of any conditions and restrictions of entry to your property, and include a contact phone number for people to ring if access is required. Require all your visitors to report to an office or designated person on arrival. Keep a record of all visitors to the vineyard, including the date and purpose of their visit. This could be very helpful if you ever had to trace the origin of an infestation on your property. Importantly, ask visitors about their recent visits to other vineyards. Consider denying access to anyone who has been in or near a vineyard in a known phylloxera-infested zone. Deny them access to your property if they are wearing the same clothes, footwear, or using the same vehicle which haven't been cleaned and disinfested.
You need to know where they came from. In other words, have they been near in a region where there is phylloxera? Have they been near other vineyards? And if that is the case, you need to be very wary. And you also, it's more so contractors, because they're moving around, they're working in a number of different vineyards. They could even be working within a phylloxera area and then come out of that into your area. So there are systems there where there are heat rooms where machinery can be cleaned thoroughly, put into these heat rooms and de-infested of the potential of phylloxera. So, and you need to see the certificates that this work's been done before you allow anybody onto your property.
Provide parking for tourists and visitors to the winery away from your vines, preferably on a hard surface. Prevent anyone taking shortcuts through your vineyards. They must stick to roads, designated tracks, or hard surfaces. And do not allow visitor vehicles to drive in the vineyard. Don't allow tourists or unauthorized visitors entry to your vine rows. And restrict access to your vineyard as much as possible with fences and gates. especially along main roads or where people or wild animals are able to enter the vineyard without authorization to take shortcuts.
Well, visitors or tourists are an issue for us. They really are. In other words, they are very mobile. They could move from what is a phylloxera region into our region, into your region as a grower, within a very short space of time. So movement can be very quick to your property. So you need to be very cautious, and if it's a cellar door in particular, and most companies love to have vineyards leading to the cellar door, so access to that vineyard is quite easy, and people love to pull out their phone and take a photograph, and they physically get out of their vehicle and will walk into the vineyard. So we have to limit that. We really need to fence them or have signage saying, this is a restricted area, not to move within that vineyard, or you're putting yourself at risk.
Cleaning should be carried out in a designated area, if possible on a hard surface, gravel, concrete or bitumen, and well away from the vineyard. Consider installing a dedicated washdown bay if you have contractor equipment or machinery from other regions or states on your property. Water runoff from cleaning must not be able to flow onto or next to any vines. Remove any parts of machinery that may hold dirt or plant material debris, and thoroughly hot wash or pressure wash the machine or equipment, concentrating on the underside and other areas most likely to collect soil or plant material. Wash any associated equipment or vehicles, particularly wheels and mudguards. Ask contractors to clean and disinfest machinery before arrival, and check certification on machinery or equipment coming into your vineyard to ensure it complies with the regulations. Harvesting equipment should be cleaned both inside and outside by legally regulated methods, such as heat rooms or hot water washing, before leaving the winery. Importantly, all machinery originating in a phylloxera-infested zone must be treated in a heat shed before it leaves the zone. Inspect bins on arrival to ensure they are free of dirt and any grape residues in the lift channels. If you're obtaining bins from a hire company, insist that they are cleaned and disinfested before they're dispatched to your vineyard. Check that the appropriate legal requirements have been followed. Reject any loads that have not followed the legal requirements. If you use picking buckets from another vineyard, make sure they are cleaned and disinfested before entering your vineyard and have the appropriate certification. It is strongly advised that you have picking buckets dedicated to your vineyard, which should not be loaned out to other vineyards. The risk of picking up phylloxera crawlers on clothing or footwear is particularly high between November and April, when phylloxera crawlers are likely to be present on the soil's surface and in the canopy. Provide boots and disposable overalls for casual workers to wear while they're on your property. If not, take the following steps when workers and staff are entering your vineyard. Use bleach for washing and disinfesting. Common household bleaches need to be diluted to 50% bleach, 50% water. Scrub boots with a scrubbing brush in water to remove any mud. Dip and scrub boots in freshly prepared bleach solution for 60 seconds, but do not rinse in water immediately after the immersion period. Clothing and hats are high-risk carriers of phylloxera because they can come into contact with vines, so minimize the risk by providing disposable clothes where feasible. All clothing used in vineyards in phylloxera-infested zones or regions of unknown phylloxera status should be washed in hot water and detergent after working in vineyards in those areas. Clean any small hand tools, such as picking and pruning equipment, in the same way. Check that your casual workers always arrive in clean clothing and boots, and with clean tools. It is prohibited to remove cuttings, rootlings and potted vines from a phylloxera-infested zone. Potted vines are prohibited from moving from a phylloxera-restricted zone into a phylloxera exclusion zone, but cuttings and rootlings can be imported under strict conditions. Visually inspect dormant vines on arrival and reject any with dirt on its stems or roots. Buy only high-quality material of known origin and health status from an accredited nursery or vine improvement organisation. The nursery should always provide evidence of the hot water procedure used. Require that all material be hot water treated before leaving the nursery. And clearly record the source and other details of the material planted on the vineyard. Phylloxera can go undetected for years. Do not assume grape phylloxera is absent on your property. Apply best practice biosecurity measures even though detection has not been confirmed. Remember, your neighbour may be infested even though your property is free of the pest. Phylloxera management begins at the farm gate. Plan long-term for replanting with resistant rootstock which prevents the pest multiplying. But always remember, phylloxera can still exist on properties with resistant rootstock.
Just the material that you bring onto your property. Make sure that rootlings and grapevines that you want to plant as new plantings, make sure they come from reputable nurseries or vine improvement associations. So caution, you need to have caution. Phylloxera in your vineyard, it is really going to hurt financially. It's going to be a major impact on your income. Your vineyard, percentage of it is going to be out of production for a good many years before you're able to actually rid your vineyard of it. So financially, it could be as serious as halving your yield on a given basis. And we damn well know that in regions this it does make it uneconomic. You cannot survive on half an income. So you have to be prepared to spend immense amount of money to replant and get back into production again. And is it sustainable? It's going to be very difficult for some, there's no doubt about that. Phylloxera is moving. It is moving through regions, and unexpectedly it is moving far quicker than people have expected it to move. And I think it is very much a kindly reminder to everybody that we need to be aware, we need to do everything possible to slow this down. Yes, it is going to happen at some time, but while we can grow our vines on our own roots and get the quality of fruit we want to work hard to maintain that.
For more information regarding phylloxera, what to look out for and on-farm hygiene practices, visit agriculture.vic.gov.au/phylloxera. Remember, be aware. Keep up to date on information, workshops, new findings, and best practice biosecurity protocols. Be active. Monitor weak or suspect spots in your vineyard. Be vigilant. Have a strong farm gate policy and on-farm biosecurity measures in place.